Hey, what's up, guys? This is Montre. I wanted to talk about today homophobia in the black community and why is it so prevalent? Why is it that it seems like, while the rest of the world is trying to come to grips with it, trying to come to grips with that, you know, LGBT people exist, we still have so many people in the black culture as a whole who are just adamant about fighting this, about uh, not giving human rights to gay people. And when we speak about human rights, we're not speaking about any extra rights that, like, oh, you're gonna get extra stuff because you're gay. That doesn't make sense. Just because you decide to have sex with somebody of the same sex, you get special rights? No, it's never like that. One, it's just people need to understand that everybody's wired differently. Sexuality is very fluid, and people are not all like heterosexual. True, we can all engage in heterosexual sex, but it's different for different people. Everybody's not all completely masculine, everybody's not 100% feminine. We have people who are in between. You have people, gender identity can be very different. Sexuality is very fluid. So, I mean, even there, I've talked to so many straight guys, and when I'm alone with them, they'll tell me, I used to have like little fantasies about this and that. So, bisexuality, even with men, is more common than people understand. I always, like I said, people really need to understand the Kinsey scale about sexuality, and that everybody's not 100% straight. Some people have had homosexual encounters and maybe kept it a secret. Your sexuality, your sexual preference is all dependent upon what you're most comfortable with. Some people are more comfortable with the same sex. Some people are more comfortable with the opposite sex. Some people are comfortable with both sexes. So your sexual preference, your sexual orientation is all dependent upon who you're most comfortable with. The black community in itself needs to get, mentally evolved to the point where they can accept that. We can accept that, as a culture, and not disrespect people who are of different sexual orientation, and not call them out of their name, or bash them, or feel like you need to commit violence. In which I never understand that if somebody's not the same sexual preference as you, why do people feel the need to commit violence to that? Most of the time, those violent acts are committed by people who are repressing their own sexuality. So why? That's the big question. Why is it that the black community is so sexually repressed, is so adamant about homosexuality, but other sexual things they don't really care? Because we could say religion, but if you look at it, black folks still fornicate and do everything else. So it doesn't keep them from doing that. It doesn't keep single mothers and stuff like that from popping up. And those kind of things are not vilified as much as homosexuality is in the black community. And we make jokes and make fun, and we have comedies with the most feminine character there is, and the idea that there may be some masculine gay guys is scary because we can't tell who they are. But everybody's not the same. Everybody's, like I said, there are some masculine gay guys, there's some feminine gay guys. The feminine gay guys just tend to stick out more. Why? So I want to hypothesize and say that most of this comes from slavery. Many slaves, men and women, were raped, were abused, physically abused, mentally abused, and sexually abused. And when, just like anything or anybody, when somebody gets raped, it's going to cause a series, my dog wants attention, a series of mental issues, and those mental issues will get passed down, not genetically, but just like violence in the black community with not to say you shouldn't discipline your children, but sometimes there's a thin line between disciplining your children and abusing your children. So that all comes from slavery as well. Beating your children too hard or too often or for everything. That all comes from slavery, and a lot of black people don't want to admit it, but whipping kids. You can discipline your kids, you can paddle your kids, and spank them, but sometimes some black families go too far. And we've seen examples of people who've gone to jail for killing their children accidentally because they whipped them too hard. Remember, they're children. Same thing with sexual abuse. So sexual abuse and homosexuality are two different things. So you get men and women who are raped, and they get a negative idea about homosexuals because men are being raped in front of their wives to prove a point, to get power over them. So when people who are born homosexual pop up on the scene, it's seen as a negative thing. It's seen as a man who's been emasculated by master. So none of that is seen as a positive thing. Nobody cares to know that this person is wired differently and actually has loving relationships with the same sex, or actually cares about who they're with. Stop it. He wants attention. So I really truly believe that slavery had a major impact on the black community in so many ways, and I think that's pretty much why black people to this day have a hard time, because it's stuff that gets passed down from parent to child, by comments or the way we teach our children. This is bad, this is bad, this is good, this is bad. And it's all about survival. We want our kids to survive and be strong. So yeah. A lot of these things, I think we need to just start dealing with it. We need to start understanding that hundreds of years, how much influence this hundreds of years of slavery has had and its effect on the black community. Colonialism and church and religion, how much it's affected the black community in a negative way, by teaching us and having us pray to this white God for our white savior, So give me your 2 cents on what you think about that, because if you don't do it, then who will? Isn't that right, mister? Who will do it, mister? Talk to you later, Doc. Leave me a comment.